Hi, my name is Chris Melke. I'm with AI Renegade, an AI agency, and today we're going to build a automation that goes from cal.com and places any sort of contact we have or meeting contact information in there into Airtable. This is what the actual final result will look like. We're going to generate a webhook that will take data from cal.com. We're going to put that data pass it into Airtable as a record. We're going to take that and make it into a record. We're going to go to a router and see if the contact exists. If it does, we'll just actually set the time of contact. And if not, then we're going to create a separate entry into Airtable. So this is Airtable acts as a CRM. So as you see here, I've got a few people in here for CRMs, and I also have one contact, which is me, my personal account. And what we're going to do is when this comes through, we're going to do one example where I will update this instead of adding a new record. So this is, of course, done through cal.com. And here's the flow of what we're going to do today. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a webhook in cal.com. It's going to receive a calendar meeting. It's going to go into Make, and it's going to actually check an Airtable for a record, and we're going to pass it this parameter. And then there's the contact in email and Airtable. If the email exists, we're going to update the Airtable record. And if it does not exist, we're going to create an Airtable record with the email, name, and last contact and put it to flag it as follow-up. So that's how this works. So let's get started and start building it. And what I'll do here is I'll just go out of here and I'll create a new scenario. So what I want to do this is I'm going to take a webhook. I'm going to create a custom webhook. And so this is my cal.com webhook. So I'm going to do add. I'm going to add a webhook. So I'm going to call it cal.com YouTube. And I'm just going to hit save. And so now this is the hook that Make would like to have in here. So we're building this all in Make. So we're going to copy this address to clipboard. And then what we're doing is we're going to cal.com where we have our profile information. And this is on app.cal.com, settings, my profile, my account, /profile. And then what you'll notice here, there's a few developer hooks here. So actually what we're going to have is we're going to go into webhooks. And you'll see I have a couple webhooks here already built. So I'm just going to make a new webhook, and I'm going to put in the URL I just copied over from Make, and I'm going to say create webhook. So there we go. So now we've added this in here, and anytime we receive data from cal.com, it's going to pass it to this webhook that we have in make.com. So what we're going to do is we're going to try this out. We're going to book a discovery call. Now, as you notice here, it's waiting for data. It's actually sitting here and it's saying, hey, I'm waiting to see if anything comes in, and it's listening to determine the data structure. So here we go. So I'm going to make a discovery call. So I build my discovery calls around work time. So on Friday, I will make a discovery call and I'll hit confirm. Now let's go back into Make, and you'll see that the data structure has been successfully determined. So we just hit save. Okay. So now this webhook is active. It knows what to do. And let's just go up here for good practice and just rename this. We'll just say cal.com YouTube. So that's how we're going to work it. And then we're going to add another module, and we're going to add an Airtable, and we're going to search a record. So I've already hooked my workspace Airtable. You can go ahead and do the same thing. Is that all you have to do is just make a connection, and it will have you sign into Airtable, and it'll actually have you authorize it. And that's all I've done. Nothing really special. So these are my bases that are here. You'll notice this is like a Renegade Operations is my base, and then these other ones are tables. So I'm going to choose my base is Renegade, AI Renegade, which is the company's operations table. and then the tab, which is contacts. Now, how we're going to do this is that we're actually going to, Airtable uses formula to filter the records, right? So we just have to generate a little formula. So all we need to do is just find the email. So we're going to go in here, and I've already written it out, is that my email is going to be the payload for the attendees. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say email. Okay, so this was done from a previous run. So what we want to do is actually, the email is whatever is being passed from this webhook as for the data. So if you look into here, attendees, you can see that an email is being passed. So this is the payload attendees email. So it's picking this up, and you'll notice that it's throbbing when I scroll over this. It means it has all this data that's been sent from the initial pass, the initial webhook. So we're all set with that. So I'm just going to hit save, and now it's all happy. It doesn't have a red 1 or anything over there, and we'll go over to here, and we're going to add another step. So we're going to add another module, and we're going to add a router. So a router is a thing that you use when you want to make a choice. Now, the choice that we want to do is that once we search these records, if the record exists, we just want to update it with the time that we're going to we've been contacted again. Now, you notice here the contact initially occurred on 2/15/2025. So what we may have is a proposal out there or something like that, and this client is contacting us again, so we want to update that the client has contacted us again. If we don't want that client, say it's a new client and we've never been contacted before and he's made a meeting, we want to update the Airtable so that it records their data. So how we're going to do this is that we're going to create a couple of filters here. So the first filter, we're going to set it up, and we're going to say if contact exists, and we'll say the condition is we should be passing the email from our Airtable record. We're going to say if the email, we're going to say exists. So we're going to set this equal to exists, and then we're going to save. Okay, so this if contact exists. Well, it's kind of spelled wrong. X. That's a little better. If contact exists. Okay. So here we're going to do it again. We're going to set the label as like is new contact. So the condition is we're going to key on the email. We're going to set it equal to does not exist, and then we're going to hit save. So you see how this is working is that it goes down one path if the contact exists. If it's a new contact, then we go on the second path. So here's how we're going to work it with this Airtable. So we're going to add in our Airtable, and we're going to do update a record. So the base, again, we go into here, it's AI operations, and then we're going to do contacts. And then we're going to grab the record ID. So all this is being passed in here. This is all the data that's being passed. You have the account, there's initiatives, but ID is the most important thing because then it'll pair with the record ID. And so along with the record ID, you want to pass a date. So this is the date of the last contact. You're going to update that date. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to find format date. And what we're going to do is set this to now. So it's just basically is a way for Make. It's just saying, hey, the time is now. And we're going to use that format that we had before. We're going to have year, and then DD and MM, right? So we're just going to format it. Oops. Okay, so we actually want it in this format. DD. Okay. So it's going to update this into this date format. And then for status, we're going to set to follow up. And then we're going to hit save. So just to go over what we're going over here, we've connected to our Airtable. We've gone into the contacts table within the base of AI Renegade operations. We've updated the ID, and we're going to update the actual date of contact, and we're going to hit save. So down here, we're going to go to Airtable again, but it's a new contact. So what we want to do is we actually want to create a record. So we want to create a record in that base. And then we're going to add to the table. We're going to go to contacts. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pull the name and the email of this individual. So right here, we've gotten all the data back from the cal.com contact. And we're going to pull right from here is that we're going to pull the name. So we're going to put it in there. And then we're going to pull the email for this slot. So we're going to set again the date of last contact, which is date. So we're going to use format date. And we're going to call this now. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do year. And then we did the month. So it's MM. So this is the current year, the current month, and the current day. So it's the same as the other one. And then we're going to label this follow up. We're going to hit save. Okay. So how this works again is that once I book a calendar appointment through cal.com, it's going to hit this webhook. It's going to search the Airtable records. If the contacts exist, it'll update the month that I've been contacted and the day if the day has changed. And then if not, it's going to add a new contact to the Airtable. So let's see how this works. All right. So we're going to go out and just do cal.com. This is my calendar. So we want to actually start the webhook up. So we're going to run once just to make sure it works. This means it's waiting for data from cal.com. And here's the time. I have a discovery call. So I'm going to have this discovery call, and I'm going to make a discovery call. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do an existing contact. So I do cgmelky@gmail.com. And so this is already existing in this. And you notice I contacted this a month ago. So what it should do is it should update that to, well, let's make it a little more apparent. So let's just say so we'll do 201, and then we just go ahead and do that. So this is waiting. The webhook is waiting. We're going to do a confirm. And once we confirm, we'll go back here and watch the data come in. All right. So what's happened is that it's come in through this webhook, and this is the data, is that the booking has been created, and this is all the payload that's come through. So the payload is just all the data. So the most important thing is the organizer. It gives the organizer's name, the email. So it takes all this data, passes it to Airtable. Airtable has a record. Here, it's going to go search for the email. We're going to key on the email in the Airtable record. And then when it hit this router, it said, hey, this contact exists, so I'm letting this pass. And then what it is that the last contact has been updated to 315. So if I go in here and look at it, you'll notice that nothing else has changed, but the date has changed to 315. So that's a successful transfer of data. And now I know that somebody else has contacted me, and we've got the actual things set to follow up. So let's see what happens when we gain a new contact in here. I'm going to start up the webhook again. It's going to be listening. And I'm going to go to cal.com to my calendar. And here's my calendar, and I've got another slot open. I'm going to make this. But if you notice in here, my work email is not present in here. So the thing is that this would be a new contact that's going to come in. So I'm going to say, hey, this email is new. I want to capture this data in Airtable, and that's what make.com is going to do for me. So I'm going to say go. the data is popped through. So again, take a look at the payload. The organizer is important. You notice that this email has changed. It does not exist in this Airtable. It passes the data to the Airtable and says, hey, key on this and see if you can find it. It goes out to Airtable and passes this data in as a record. So when I come back up here, you'll notice that it has successfully added this contact now from my cal.com meeting into my Airtable and labeled it with follow-up. So that's how you can build this integration in make.com. You go ahead and build this. It's a simple tool, and you can actually use it for yourself and bring that in. So if you like to get this template, I will download it and put it in up on below on the YouTube video. So I appreciate you watching, and I hope that you like and subscribe so I can continue making these and making your life easier through automation.